Welcome to the MordorBBS Podcast. You can visit MordorBBS.com for pop culture news, views, and information. Be the first on your blog to simply walk into Mordor. Your hosts for this podcast are Signal and Gameplay Jenny.
Pathetic earthlings, hurling your bodies out into the void without the slightest inkling of who or what is out here. If you had known anything about the true nature of the universe, anything at all, you would have hidden from it in terror.
Hello everybody, down here in New Zealand we're in the grip of Rugby World Cup fever and in the grip of a tropical cyclone. Jenny, what are you in the grip of?
Sorry, that's completely caught me out. Nothing?
That's not very exciting.
No, nothing I'd be interested in anyway. I mean, the country is probably in the grip of, the X Factor and stuff, but that wouldn't be me.
So what about this Red versus Black that we heard so much about in the last podcast?
Oh, I have watched it, yeah. Oh, it wound me up quite a lot, and I don't really know why I watched it in the end.
We've both been looking at YouTube clips, and what's caught our eye over the last week are the daredevils in wingsuits. These are basically people who throw themselves down mountains wearing what looks like an oversized flying squirrel outfit, trying not to smear themselves into the stonework, ultimately opening a parachute at the end of the run.
I went to see how much one of those was,
The wingsuits?
Yeah, I live in a second floor building, I thought, why not have a go?
Fair enough. I think you'd find it probably takes a little bit more of a drop in order to get up to speed before you can extend your flappy bits and actually sail along.
I'm only little though, come on.
This is true. You are quite wee. You might actually not need much of a suit at all. You could probably just carry an umbrella in each hand. Mary Poppins your way to work in the morning.
I might try that. Save me a lot of money.
Well, I don't know. You might go through a few umbrellas. So what else have we seen on YouTube that was of note? One thing that caught my eye was a homemade animation called Eye of the Storm by Lovett, L-O-V-E-T-T. So look for Eye of the Storm on YouTube. It's a short cyberpunk clip, which is well worth the effort. I can heartily recommend it to anybody who's ever thought about making a movie in their backyard.
Did you just say hardly recommend it?
Highly recommend it.
I thought you said hardly recommend it.
Well, I'm hardly going to hardly recommend something if I'm going to bring it up in a podcast. There's another clip that caught my eye, which is Porter Robinson's Spitfire, which is an exclusive Capture the Can paintball video. It's sort of laid out in the style of a first-person shooter, but it actually uses real game footage, which has been spliced together rather cleverly. I used to play paintball a fair bit a few years ago. It doesn't tempt me to get back into it, but it's a rather cool piece of film, and I was very impressed by it. So if you do a search for Porter Robinson and Spitfire, you should be able to find that on YouTube.
You actually wrote a game about paintball as well.
Oh yeah, back in the day, Paintball Manager Extreme, I believe it was called. You can probably find that on download.com. I assume it's still there. I haven't actually looked at it in a little while. Oddly enough, wasn't it Paintball Manager how we met?
It was, actually. That's a fairly scary thought, isn't it? Do you realise that was 12 years ago now?
12 years. Oh my god. Yeah, I vaguely recall the original Paintball Manager 1 game, which was written in
DOS.
DOS. It was written in GW Basic and compiled into an executable and released on the internet. And I got this email from this crazy lady saying how much she enjoyed it. And I think it all started from there.
Who, crazy lady? Who was that?
I couldn't possibly say.
No, it's very true. I did. I don't even know why I did. I think it was just to make some recommendations to you or something.
Yeah, I think it was a well done. I really enjoyed it, but here's all the things that you should change for the sequel.
Which you did.
Which I did. I think there have actually been about 3 versions of it in total, and I'm always on the verge of writing another one, but seem to never get off my ass to actually do so.
If you want Rob to get off his ass, write in. I'm going to send another email purporting to be from a crazy lady and see whether it makes you do it.
Well, I've got so many other projects on the go at the moment. I mean, I'm actually in the middle of writing about 5 different computer games, all of which get up to the intro screen, and then I sort of lose interest in them. So I don't know. It might be worth writing another email. Certainly if I get enough people writing in to say that they'd love to see a new Paintball Manager game, I dare say I could pull finger and do it.
Come on, audience, it makes sense. As an added bonus, I would even do a Let's Play of it.
Well, that might make it worth all the effort. What's an isosceles triangle?
Where all the sides are the same length. No, it isn't. That's an equilateral triangle. It's where 2 of the sides are the same length. Oh God, I really am asleep this morning.
So,
equilateral triangle, all sides are the same length. Isosceles triangle, 2 sides are the same length. Scalene triangle, no sides are the same length. Fascinating trivia.
I don't really know why I asked that. I was just sort of sketching a series of little triangles, and it sort of occurred to me that I had absolutely no idea what one was.
What, a triangle?
No, an isosceles triangle. And a triangle is obviously something that you hit with a piece of metal and it goes ding.
Well, duh.
It's about the only musical instrument that I can actually play with any alacrity. Is alacrity the word that I mean?
Brisk and cheerful readiness.
Alacrity works then.
Did you mean with competency?
No, I think you can briskly and cheerfully play a triangle. Well, you'd have to be pretty damn incompetent in order to not be able to play a triangle.
A friend of mine, who normally plays the violin, was seconded once in an orchestra to having to play the triangle without having had any rehearsal at all, so it was the scariest thing she'd ever done.
Surely it's just a matter of timing.
That's the problem. If you've ever read an orchestral score, you would understand why trying to work out where the triangle plays is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world.
Oh, fair enough. Though I'm guessing it will be largely lost in all the other bangy and clattery bits that go on in an orchestra.
That's the problem, you see. It isn't. If you get the triangle wrong, everybody can hear you.
I suppose it's also a bit of a damning indictment on triangle players in general that somebody who was trained to play the violin could easily sub to play the triangle, but somebody who was trained to play the triangle couldn't easily sub to play the violin.
Well, yes, but triangle players don't just play the triangle, they play all the other percussion instruments as well, so... You
mean like the drums and those big bongo-y things?
Yeah.
I mean the kettle drums, don't I?
Timpani is the word you're after there.
Okay, I think your average percussionist is probably going, or timpanist, is that the right word? Is going to be rather annoyed at me calling them big bongo-y things. Have you seen Bill Bailey's Guide to the Orchestra?
I have.
I thought it was rather good.
There's no point asking me about it, because I don't remember bugger all about it.
Well, that's that conversation knackered then, isn't it? As I mentioned at the start of the podcast, we are in Rugby World Cup fever down here in New Zealand at the moment. We've got 20-odd teams from all over the world come to play rugby, and the entire nation has gone absolutely bat crazy. There are flags flying on just about every house, with New Zealand and France and Tonga and Samoa and so forth being loudly proclaimed as favourites. I've only watched one game so far, and that was the All Blacks versus Tonga, which the All Blacks won rather dramatically. But it seems the largest cheer in the audience was when the All Black player Sonny Bill Williams took his shirt off, at which point 40,000 high-pitched screaming women voiced their appreciation. It seems unusual, or I suppose typical, that the haka and the national anthem got an awful lot less enthusiasm than that. But that's the state of professional sport at the moment, I suppose.
Yeah. Here's an opportunity for you. How do you fancy being featured on this podcast? If you can send us a minute of you yakking about anything within the topics that we cover on this show, no swearing allowed, we'll do the audio, and you can be famous for 15 seconds.
That's not such a bad plan. If you would like to just turn that into an MP3, send it to Maddox at webel.co.nz. I'll have a listen to it and see if it's something that we want to include. Alternatively, you can contact either of us on Twitter, just by contacting Signal, PSYGNAL, or Gameplay Jenny.
Speaking of Twitter...
Oh, is this where you show me up again about how wonderfully you're doing on Twitter and how horrible I'm doing?
Well, the truth is, I have lost a not inconsiderable number of followers this week.
Oh, have you just? What have you done?
I don't know. Well, they were all trying to sell me something and I wasn't buying, so I'm guessing that's what it was.
Oh, well, I have lost, typically for me, another 4 followers.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Well, consistency doesn't really cut the mustard. I mean, I should have followers through the roof at the moment. I've been posting all sorts of incredibly interesting stuff on my Twitter channel. And,
like an argument of the pronunciation of slough.
Well, in all fairness,
I was discussing the space-time continuum last night, but you were arguing over the pronunciation of slough.
Slough, I think you'll find it's pronounced.
And nowhere during that did you mention mellifluousness at all.
No, I should point out that Gameplay Jenny was referred to as having a mellifluous voice. We actually had to look up what mellifluous means, and it turns out it means sticky.
Doesn't. It means sweet and pleasant sounding, I'll have you know.
Sweet things are often sticky, I've found. I've had an awful lot more gaming time of late after giving up on EVE Online, which is a massively multiplayer space game that I've played for, probably getting on for 5 or 6 years now. I ended up giving it up because they were releasing an expansion which was going to have sort of fairly significant game-changing implications. But they're only releasing it for PlayStation 3, which I don't actually have. So that and a few other issues involving microtransactions, and it just did seem to be a bit of a waste of time. But it did get me thinking that the consoles do seem to be becoming rather more popular gaming platforms at the moment, and it's something that we haven't really talked about on the podcast to date. I have, to my shame, an original Xbox. It's not an Xbox 360, it's the original Xbox. It does work. I do dust it off occasionally when my nieces are over to play... What's that thing with the fish?
What's that thing with the fish?
Oh, what was that Disney thing with the...
Nemo.
Yes.
Finding Nemo. That thing with the fish.
I do dust it off occasionally to play Finding Nemo with the nieces, but otherwise it doesn't really get taken out of its box. I have thought that it might be good to get myself a console, but it does seem that it just seems to be the same game repeated over and over across various platforms, and I'm not sure that they're really games that I'm particularly interested in. Jenny, you've got a few consoles, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I've got a 360 and I've got a Wii, and I actually still own the original GameCube as well, mainly because selling it would get me no money whatsoever.
The Wii is one that actually interested me, simply because of when it came out, the control system just seemed to be so different and new, and it was something that caught my eye. I understand that with the new Kinect system that's come out and the additions to the PlayStation, their control systems have managed to even step this up a notch, but how were you actually finding the Wii, just from a fun-to-play perspective?
I'll be completely honest with you, for the last few months it's made quite an attractive plant stand. When I bought it, I promised myself that I would use it every day, stay fit and all the rest of it. And to begin with, I did, and I got quite good at the archery, and I'm sure it did have quite an impact on my physical fitness, but that's where the problem is. I've not been terribly well for the last 12 months, and therefore, why on earth would I want to come home and play on something that requires me to move around? Which I think is the fundamental problem with Kinect as well. I don't have the room or the inclination to be dancing around my living room. In fact, I don't even have a living room to be dancing around in, and therefore, that doesn't work for me. Yeah, it's an argument that's been going on in a couple of forums I've looked at recently where people are saying, well, I don't want to have to come home and use my whole body. I just want to sit down with a controller and eat pizza and play a game, which I think is a fair comment.
I think the Wii has perhaps attracted the parents over the children, in the sense that they think that if kids are going to be playing computer games, they may as well be standing up and jiggling about and at least getting a little bit of exercise. And it is something that I almost managed to sell as an idea to my wife to allow me to purchase a Wii, simply so that I could play computer games in front of the telly and not get scowled at for it. But yes, ultimately, I've had a look at the Kinect as well. It just does seem to be the sort of games that I'm not particularly interested in playing. The Sports Resort on the Wii caught my attention because I do like the idea of the archery. But ultimately, once the archery's done, what else is there that brings anything new to the table?
But don't get me wrong, it is a really good game. There isn't a single sport there that you wouldn't want to play. But equally, the problem is that if I don't want to be moving around, then I'm going to be sitting at my PC with a mouse and a keyboard, which is what I'm far more affiliated with. There
are some concerns that PC gaming is very much in the decline. I haven't actually seen any numbers to back that up, but PC gamers...
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. If you go into Game now, local high street games shop, strangely enough, you can barely find the PC section, and it's been like that for some considerable time.
I've noticed the same here. We have electronics boutique stores are pretty much where you go to buy a game if you don't have Steam. And yeah, much the same. 3/4 of it is going to be PlayStations and Xboxes and your little handheld devices. And sort of wedged in the corner somewhere, you'll find a few rather overpriced PC games. So I suppose it's no wonder that the industry seems to be in decline.
On the other hand, of course, it could just be that all PC owners are now downloading their games, in which case we don't need to go to a shop because we're permanently welded to our chairs.
Well, there was some talk about getting a PC Connect package together. Apparently the Connect is hackable to the extent that you can plug it into a PC. I must admit I'm not up to date as to whether anybody's actually been brave enough to do that to their Connect bundle yet, but it is something that could potentially be there to look forward to. It surprises me that this is something that Microsoft isn't capitalizing on. It would seem to be fairly straightforward to make this a device that you could plug into your USB socket and just have some developers make some games around it. It does seem to be a lost opportunity, though perhaps it's something that they've got in the pipeline. I don't know how many of you have ordered stuff off the internet. Jenny, I'm sure you probably have over the years.
Oh, I have. I've just had confirmation of my wingsuit. In fact, that's the doorbell. Just bear with me for a moment. Right, got it.
What have you got?
A wingsuit.
Ah, you have your wingsuit. So are you going to be giving us a demonstration of this wingsuit? Maybe a bit of a running commentary from a wireless microphone as you fly over Manchester there?
Yeah, in fact, I'm thinking I might just do it off my balcony now, actually.
Hang on, this balcony off the second floor. Are you sure you're going to have enough altitude to get full extension on your squirrely bits?
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Right, here we go.
Hang on, I'll give you a countdown. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you perched on the edge of the balcony?
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, jump!
Ow!
Thank you for listening to the MordorBBS Podcast. Don't forget that you can visit us online at MordorBBS.com